Failure is without a doubt one of the most embarrassing things that's out there that you can do is failing. And a lot of people don't talk about their failures, but the reality is that when you fail, you learn so much. And when you decide to pick yourself back up and continue to move forward, you have all of these lessons that you would have never been able to get if you had not tried in the first place, right? I like to talk about my failures. I like to talk about the issues that I've had. And I find that other people who are, building a business at a certain time, when they're also failing and they feel like they're such a loser for failing in those moments, they don't realize that that's just a part of the process and there's so much value in that failure. And so the reason I'm explaining all this is because Jeremy Worden and I just recently did a podcast and we talked about our failures and we talked about, what it was like when we were getting started and where we are now. And I found it to be such a genuine interaction, genuine conversation that I wanted to share it with everyone on my channel and anyone who watches this video. And so I'm posting it from my channel, but it's Jeremy Worden's podcast called STR Pros. And I think that there's a lot of value that anyone who's in the journey, who's in the process of building up an Airbnb business will get value from. And for anyone who doesn't know who I am, I'm John Bianchi, the Airbnb data guy. I have an Airbnb data business that is built out to ensure that nobody buys an unprofitable property again, because there's so many people out there who have bought an Airbnb, rented or bought a property, and it never cash flowed for them, and they never talked about it, and they never shared anything about it. And I know you guys are out there, and I know you have properties that are failing because I've talked to so many of you individually that I have made it my mission to ensure that nobody buys an unprofitable property again. So this video, it's not going to give you all of my insights. My other videos are definitely going to give you all the insights, but this video will definitely help you feel like you're a part of the journey as well. And we're all in there with you doing the exact same thing. So hope you enjoy this. And if you do, comment, like, share.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Short-Term Rental Pros podcast. We are here in sunny San Diego, California at the STR Nation Conference. And I'm super lucky to be alongside one of the keynote speakers, John Bianchi, the Airbnb data guy, who's going to talk to us today about what it takes to be an absolute STR pro in 2023. John, thank you so much for joining me.
Appreciate you, man. Always love being on these podcasts with you. It's always a good time.
And we're actually running back. John has been on before, so after you listen to this one, go back and listen to the first one because he dropped a lot of knowledge bombs there too. But what I want to get into before we talk about, how you do things, all the success that you've had, I want to talk about, what are some of the more failures? I know you've done a lot of investing for the company you work for as well as individually, but what have been the learning experiences and the not so bright aspects of your career?
I'm glad you brought this up because I think this is one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is their failures that they've had in the Airbnb business, right? And when you talk about your failures, you learn from them and that allows you to get better at what you're doing, right? So for myself, like my worst case scenario was when I had my own properties. I did 2 rental arbitrage deals down in Scottsdale. I thought I analyzed everything. I thought I was good at that point, right? And what I realized was that I actually missed the fact that you needed a pool heater. And so because I missed the fact you needed a pool heater, I was no longer competitive across all the other properties I was going up against, which means my revenue potential was so much lower than what I expected it to be. And I ended up losing about $40,000 to $50,000 across those 2 properties, right? And then they didn't renew, and I lost everything.
And because there's an arbitrage, you didn't want to buy a pool heater because they own the property.
Right, of course, right? And the thing is I didn't do enough research to be able to realize how big of a deal that was at the time. I missed out on that because I didn't have a process in place. Now, what I want to say is that that's one of the mistakes. I had 3 other ones that I've made a mistake with as well when I was really first getting going, right? Without going into too much detail. But I learned from all of those, and now that I work with TechFester, we've bought 120 properties the past 18 months, somewhere around that number, right? But 72 of those, we have our data that's live, and all 72 of them are profitable cash flowing properties across the board, right? So we haven't missed, and it's my job to ensure that we are buying the right properties. And so I learned from my mistakes, and I made sure that we are now only getting the best possible properties with the most opportunity, that are the most inefficiency properties within whatever market we're going into. So that's my horror story, but you learn from your mistakes.
So what drives you? Could I say it's fair to say what drives you now to be the best is that feeling of having failed when you
100%.
started?
Yeah, yep, 100%. Failing sucks, right? And especially when you're using other people's money and you're going out there and you think you know everything, and then all of a sudden a year goes by and you made literally no money, you lost money on the deal, and you have no way of taking that furniture and moving it to another place and trying to recapture your gains, right? So when you do that, I realize that what if I was just more diligent at the very beginning to ensure I wasn't making that mistake. And that kind of caused me to go not crazy, but like just way more in depth, right? And I'm obsessed with the data because I know it has the answers. And if I can just understand the data better, then I'm going to get to the answers, and that's going to make sure that I'm not losing people's money, right? And with TechVestor, we're like 60 million plus right now of other people's money. So ensuring that we're investing that in the best possible location is all that matters to me, right? So yeah, it'll make you obsessed if you really dive into it.
And now you feel kind of that like enormous responsibility of
Correct.
having other people's money.
Yeah.
But just knowing, I mean, all that you can do, like, you know, who knows what's going to happen in this world? Like, who knows? But you have the best process. You are looking at the most data points. You are making the most informed decisions. And then your company, after it leaves your hands on the acquisition side, is operating it with like the best practices possible.
Yeah. So one thing you just said there, you know, you can't really do anything about, you know, the world crashing, you know what I mean? But, or an economic downturn or the S&P 500 dropping like crazy. But what you can do is you can build in things to your property that help you get through those time periods, right? So what I mean by that is building out your property in a way that it's going to be one of those properties that will continue to get booked even when there is an economic downturn. Because even during COVID, people are traveling, right?
Yeah.
When you're supposed to stay inside. And so the thing is a lot less people are traveling, but there were still some people traveling. And so if there's only, you know, 25% of the normal people that were traveling to a certain market, they're going to book those top 25 listings. We want to be one of those listings, right? And so we just have to make ourselves one of those ones so that we can still get bookings during those downtimes. And I think that's one of the best things that you can do to insulate yourself when that time comes, right? Just making sure you're in that top 25.
And so John and I, we talk a lot, not only on podcasts.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we kind of go back and forth on what we're seeing going on in the marketplace. And we joke about what is the highest ROI possible amenity there is. So what are the three? Just, I know obviously different places have different things that go for them, but generally speaking, what are the three must-haves? The three best bang for buck investments you could possibly
Bang for your
make?
buck investments. We talked about this. We joke about it a lot. It's the hanging lights.
String
right?
lights.
Hey, string lights without
Shout
a
out-
doubt. Now
shout
here's the
out to-
thing.
We need an affiliate link
String
for them.
lights done right is what makes a difference, right? You can't just have one set of string lights that goes around one spot and you take a photo with your iPhone and you're like, yeah, I got string lights. You know what I mean? You've got to like line them up. Like
zigzags.
I always tell people, I'm like, buy so many string lights that you think it's too much. You know what I mean? You've bought so many, you're like, I have too much here. That's how many you should have, and you should be hanging up to really light up that place. And then the photos is what's going to make the difference, right? Of actually how well does it look in those twilight photos. So hanging lights with the right photos, right?
And then I would say fire pit.
Yes.
Fire pit plus string light combination.
Yep.
And that was like
Boom.
the last house I set up, I did the fire pit plus hanging lights combination. Prior to that, I had just done fire pit.
Right.
Or I had done string lights somewhere else.
Right. So like anywhere that people are going to be using your outdoor space at night that you can add light to it so they can continue to use it during the warm times of the year is going to make it such a cooler space for them. Imagine you had cornhole set up, right? And then you've got like lights up and down the cornhole space so people can keep playing cornhole at night, right? While they're having drinks, and some people by the fire, some people by the hot tub, like whatever it may be. You're just creating this atmosphere for a large group of people to have a great time. Right.
And that's what it's all about. It is about, in this game, it is literally about having a great time.
So question for you, because this is something I do. When you go out to an Airbnb with all of your friends, do you watch your friends interact within that Airbnb? Do you watch what they're doing in the Airbnb?
It's like I'm such a sicko when it comes to going to now and just like the one I'm staying at right now.
Yeah.
I went in there and literally by the marks on the wall, I was like, I'm going to guess how many years this has been on Airbnb,
right?
Because of like the little cosmetic wear and tear that it's had, and like the lack of like touch-up paint. So I was like, based off the cosmetic marks, I think this has been for about 3.5, 4 years. I went back in the reviews,
you were right.
and I got back to like 2019. I was like, all right,
repaint your listing every once in a while. Come on.
you got that's a pro tip. Literally every year or two,
take a week, slow
paint.
season, add up, fix everything up. You know what I mean?
And keep leveling up your listing.
Yeah. So the reason I asked that question is because when I go out to any Airbnb with all my group of friends, while we're doing anything, I'm literally watching what people are doing. So I'm watching like what are the girls doing, right? What are the guys doing? How's everyone interacting? What are they using? What are they not using? Why, right? And I'm trying to like get a feel for it because then that's gonna affect what we put into our listing and why we put it in there, right?
Yeah. Meanwhile, if people the night I own, very rarely, like very, very rarely, will I have like people like friends stay at that with me. And when I do, I just get anxiety. I'm like, don't touch that. don't break this. We're not going in the hot
Yeah.
tub. Look, I'm not draining the hot tub and getting that rebuilt.
I definitely don't want to be invited to that then.
No, I'm kidding. I've loosened up a little bit, but like at first, when it was like I need every cent possible, like literally, you take 2 cents away from me, and I don't have enough money to do my next deal.
Right, you like don't break anything, otherwise I'm not going to be able to.
So much anxiety. My friends get drunk. They're trying to jump off the roof of the docks onto my table, like just fuck shit up. And we'll
you got
fix
some good
it.
friends then, eh?
Yeah. I mean, this alcohol does crazy things. Don't recommend that. We'll get you a new one. We'll fix it. This will be funny. Yeah. This won't be funny. But I definitely look when I stay somewhere at someone else's. I'm like, what are they doing good? What are they not doing well? Like, can I make money here doing something better than them? Like,
and what could that be? Why? Right? You know what I mean?
How much does the rent cost here? How much does a home cost here?
One thing I want to point out, right?
What are the regulations?
Everyone thinks data is this like math equation, data science, and like being able to like study all of it. I'm not a data science. I'm not a data engineer, nothing. I'm just an analyst, a guy who is able to look at the data and kind of make decisions based off of it, right? Like I didn't go to school for it, I just kind just figured it out, right?
I'll call you a data scientist.
We're
with John Bianchi, the Airbnb data scientist.
That's not true. That's not true. So
PhD doctor.
The reason I'm pointing this out is because looking at the way your group of your friends or family moves around a house at an Airbnb that you're staying at for a vacation is a data point. And so being able to understand how they're using it is a data point. Looking at photos and the way they're taken from certain angles, that's a data point, right? Like that data, that information can be used to help learn how to increase the revenue of your property so that you can do better than everybody else around you. And that's all that matters. You're in a business. You should be trying to win in your market as much as you possibly can, and you win by adding more value. And so you got to figure out what value drives most revenue, and then you just study your competition as much as you can. You know that more than anyone, right? Like, sorry, you're gonna say something there, and I cut you.
No.
Well, I was gonna say because I say this. I'm not sure if I said this last podcast, but I'm gonna say it again. Jeremy and I are friends because of his portfolio. If he had a shitty portfolio, I would not be friends with him. But
I said it a bunch of times. Yeah, he's like, I would not like if your properties start to suck. I won't like you anymore.
So it can't fall apart. So like the thing is that I found. I didn't even know I don't think we knew each other all that well, but I came across a couple of your properties and I was like, holy shit, these are really nice. Like I thought they were some of the most impressive properties that I had seen. And then I realized you had like 25 of them. And I was like, wow, this guy's killing it. And you're not a fund. You're not like bringing in massive money. You're not from like some rich family. You know what I mean? And I was just like, this guy understood how to put together a proper listing so much better than the vast majority of people. And he was scaled at it. And he's 26. And I was like, what the fuck? Right? Like, anyways, and that's why I was like, all right, we got to be buddies, right? Like somebody,
here
and then
we
just started chatting. So,
and we don't shut up once we start.
Just keep going. But anyways, I just want to say that because this guy understood all these little things probably better than anybody else. And you got to give yourself credit for that. You know what I mean? Because
I give credit, but I mean, my process, in which I think we kind of figured out, we have a similar process. We did it kind of in parallel. We figured out and then we kind of figured out before we were talking in conferences about this, but was like, find the pros, and it's the Short-Term Rental Pro podcast. But when I was starting, it was like, who is crushing it?
Okay.
Like, who is crushing it and why are they crushing it?
Now, I was just going to ask you, like, how did you first figure it out? And that's exactly it, right? You started looking at the people who were crushing it. So then you figure out how to replicate what they were doing?
Yeah, exactly. And same thing, I was just like, oh, crap. Like, I started the first property, iPhone photos. I took to whip out I don't even know if I had an iPhone. Did I have an Android? I've had Androids in the past.
Brutal.
Yeah, don't.
You shame him for that.
Let's cut that out. But I took iPhone pictures and put them on and that was like the start. And then was realizing like over time, like just looking at mine, then I start seeing other people's and I'm like, wait a minute, they're charging higher rates than me, but they're a slightly smaller house. Like, wait a minute. And the competition, the competitive drive starts to hit you.
How long do you think it took you? So like from your first property that you got to be able to get a listing at the level of the listings that you're at right now, how many homes did it take? How many months did it take until you feel like you were at like a listing you could be proud of?
Yeah, I would say when I really like went like all in and was like, this has to be done at 100% execution was the first time I raised capital like from my friends.
So, your first property, you didn't raise any capital?
I did. The first property wasn't like my friends though.
Oh, okay.
It was like it was just people. It wasn't like 23-year-olds.
Yeah.
It wasn't like my peers.
Yeah,
you know,
make sure you're crushing it with them.
Yeah, and I was like managing other people's property, so it was like their money. They were buying a vacation house, so like it was less.
There's something about taking on other people's money that you really care about that makes you hone in your skills like nothing else. there's like, you almost want to put yourself in a position where you are so responsible for somebody else's, money that it makes you want to learn every single last thing that you possibly can to be the absolute best, because it's a revenue driver for yourself to motivate you.
Yeah.
And sometimes if it's just your own money, your own property, it's like you can kind of float
Or you're managing a property for a vacation owner, and you're helping them set it up, but it's like
that one's a different scenario, because you're always dealing with like what the landlord wants, and they always don't understand, and so it's so difficult. But sometimes just putting yourself in like that pressure, like iron crate. How is it?
Iron creates iron.
Yes, it's not it. It's not it. It's just something about anyone listening knows what we're talking about.
You feel
iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, there he goes. Iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah,
so anyways, that's what I'm referring to.
We'll have some other scientists on.
Told you, I'm not a scientist whatsoever. But anyways, yeah, man, that's cool. Like that it took you that long, and now with your listings, you can obviously get them. They look great. Photos are great. Amenities are great. How do you feel about the budget that you're working with, right? Because obviously every time you're putting them together, you're working with a specific budget. How do you work within that to make it an amazing listing?
Yeah, so I've tried. Starting with as little money as possible, have tried to create as much wealth as possible.
Okay.
So it's been a kind of equation.
Real quick, do you know how much you started with and where you're at right now? Is that something you're willing to share?
I actually have a document. I actually just found a couple weeks ago, but I literally had. It's kind of, I don't know if this makes me sound good or bad, but I literally had a document that I made in 2019 called like net worth.
Okay.
It was my net worth document.
How many properties did you have at that point?
Well, zero.
Zero. Okay.
Zero.
2019, zero. Beautiful. And what was your net worth?
Be like $7,000.
Okay.
Or something like 6, 7. And that's when I like moved to New York.
Okay.
Granted, like I literally at that time, like I split a room with my friend. Like we really had like a shared room because
New York, it's different.
Yeah,
it's different.
Like I could, because
my brother split a living room, by the way, with somebody else. So
it's because I wasn't like, I did the math and I was like, based off how much I'm making and the fact that I have like $6,000-7,000, like I will lose all my money if I have to pay $2,000 a month of rent.
Yeah.
So I went from that, and then just like context, I actually pretty much still got rid of that $6,000 on a $5,600 pontoon boat.
Okay.
So
genius. Hey, what is? I heard about the whole pontoon boat. I remember that was your thing for a while, right?
And I at that time also got a couple. So I had done some like freelance web development.
Okay.
And I got a contract. Like my friend got a contract to like rebuild like a ticketing website for like a school district in Illinois.
Yep.
At the beginning of COVID, and he brought me in to like help build it out. So like I was doing everything I can, because I was like, damn, this pontoon boat's making money. Like, how do I get my next one?
How do you get another one? Yeah.
And then like, wow, these houses are making money.
Right.
Like, how do I do everything I can to make money to then eventually start buying these houses?
Right.
So it's really, it was a crazy ride for sure.
Well, let's. Do you have the nowadays net worth? Is that an allowed thing to share that you've never shared?
Yeah, I mean, well, so the huge determinant of that is the value of these homes.
Correct.
Which like I'm not gonna get an appraisal on each one just so I can like have my exact number.
But you have a general idea of what they might appraise for, right?
Yeah, I have a general. I mean, if you take the Zestimate, so I was like, I mean, the Zestimate's terrible. It's terrible value. It's not fair. Like, it's
so if anything, that would probably be less than what you're at.
Definitely, because that doesn't take into fact like how much we put into the homes to make them look good, to make them look marketable.
Are you beating around this question real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, and also like, I mean, now that I have like companies that have businesses, I guess, like, but if I just like ignore that and I just think of like my real estate, my cash, my stocks, I do have a stock portfolio.
Okay.
I'm not, but yeah, I guess I'm a millionaire.
There you go.
I'm not like I'm.
That took a minute to get there, but okay, nice, man. So 7,000 in 2019, 0 homes. Well, how old have you been?
I'm 26. I was like 23, 22.
$7,000, 26, millionaire with multiple properties, 9 properties that you own, a bunch others that you rent or co-manage, right? And a bunch of other businesses on the side as well. So like 3 years and you are absolutely crushing it.
It's crazy.
That's wild, eh? That's wild.
Yeah. You just every day just enjoy the process and have fun with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And just make good decisions and surround yourself with good people. And like, if you're going to do some career, I mean, me sitting next to John right now, like if you do some business line, you want to be friends and talk with the people who are the best at it, because you're going to share with them some information. They're going to share with you. And the data that we both collectively have,
right?
Because of who we surround ourselves with, but because what we're passionate about, like we're in a competitive advantage to be good at this game.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
And you're
I'm
an
just
competitive
gonna,
advantage.
I'm just gonna
listening
put
to
it out
this.
there right now that I currently have 0 personal homes myself.
John's itching.
Give me 5
John's
years,
itching.
I'll have way more than
Well,
you.
but I mean, I feel like
Kidding, I'm kidding.
you got into this world, and
Yeah.
you know, you've done it your own way. You've
Yeah,
done it a
no,
different way than other people have.
Well,
you
here's
know?
my thing, right? So I'll explain my path for anyone who doesn't. They're like, how do you have 0 homes? And you're talking all about this, right? So I had 8 management contract, or sorry, 8 rental arbitrage contracts, 8 co-hosting contracts, and from that I built up a business. But then COVID came around, wiped it out, and then from there, what I did was I sold those contracts. So I was able to get out of the business, and then I focused in on the one thing that I did best, which was how to evaluate the data to be able to find the best properties. And I started helping other people being able to do that, right? Because I was out, I had sold I'd sold off the business, but I had one thing I did well. So I just honed in on that. And I was like, I want to get really, really good at this before I continue to move forward. And so then I found a company I could work with where I could work on that skill and develop it even more, right? So then I'm working with the company to do it. I'm also helping other people, and I'm building that up. And that's what I've been doing for the past almost 2 years now. And I've now gotten to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go back into the market. I'm ready to buy my own properties. I'm ready to do joint venture deals. I'm ready to get to that point of actually building it up. And so I can't wait to own a property. I can't wait to see what it looks like. I can't wait to find like the best possible deal, right? But we're very, very close to making that happen. And so getting right back into that, building up that Airbnb business again. And I'm just going to continue to do it till the day I die, because I absolutely love it.
I'm excited to have you on when you have your first property, because then we can talk about guest experiences for you.
I'm going to try and figure out how to get somebody else to manage that.
But what I want to talk or just give kudos to John, and actually kind of similar to Josh. Josh is the founder of Project 7 Studios. You guys watching this on YouTube, that's
Nice.
The backdrop. But kind of what he did initially, and what you did was you started posting on social media about how to do things. So you talked about how to do data analysis to buy RVs. You put out free courses where
3.
you just gave out a ton of value for nothing in return. And then you put this out into the world, and then TechVestor, correct me if I'm wrong, but he hit you up and was
It's not exactly how it went down, but it was because of everything that I put out there. It made it very easy to be able to work with them.
Yeah, and they knew you were credible at that point. They didn't need your resume. They didn't need to see data scientists, PhD data scientists. You talk the talk, and you got into short-term rentals. In a way, that's a $0 way to get into short-term rentals.
Yeah, get all the knowledge and everything, right, that you need from it. But
provided value.
Provide value. There was something that I can't remember who said it, but it might have been Tony Robbins, but it was pretty much just provide as much value as you possibly can. Even when I talk about your Airbnbs, I'm always saying provide as much value as you possibly can, right? So for myself, I knew that I had this skill, and I knew I could help other people. And what really bothered me were all the people that I talked to that bought a property that never cash flowed. Drove me nuts, right? Because I knew that there was ways to avoid that. And so I thought to myself, I'm like, if I'm going to help other people, let me just provide an outrageous amount of free content, free information, give them all of the secrets that they possibly could need so they can do it by themselves. And if they want to do it with me, they can, right? But they can do it by themselves if they wanted to. And so that's what I focused on, was just as much value as possible I could. And honestly, it's tenfold. You know what I mean? It tenfolds itself. It takes time, but it tenfolds itself to the opportunities that show up. Being able to sit here with you and just being friends with you. Again, one of my favorite portfolios is yours, right? So and the fact that we're probably going to do deals together. We're probably going to do more things together. And you only believe in me because I put stuff out there to help other people. And then I kept honing in on my skills, right? So it all kind of evolves into more. So anyone who's kind of sitting out there thinking about anything along those lines,
whether it be short-term rentals, whether it be
anything.
I would say short-term rentals is a lot of fun, though. I mean, we're talking about at this conference. I've been to other conferences. I've been to real estate conferences. I've been to just the old company I worked for was just asset management startup. So I was at kind of wealthy people investing conferences.
Right.
And there is no doubt short-term rental conferences are the most fun.
I was thinking that this morning. I was like, I'm so glad that I somehow ended up in this world, because all of these people are so much fun to be around. Everyone is just super nice, easygoing. Everyone's having a good time. And all these people like yourself, working 5 hours a week, and you're making money, you're feeling good. Mind you do other stuff.
Exactly. I would say
you're not it's not like you're doing nothing for 5 hours, but it gives you the ability to do so much more, right? And so it's just those like-minded people. It's so easy to become friends with them because you guys are so similar. And anyways, I love this industry as well. Plus, we're in the industry of vacations, right? What's better than that?
We're looking at
we're literally
the water in San Diego.
Beautiful San Diego. It's just amazing out here. Great weather.
And I think this is a cool space where, I mean, we're how
31.
Okay, you're 31, but we're relatively younger guys.
Yep. I hit the 30s, so it is what it is.
Yeah, but and we are we're able to speak at a conference and like be
Right.
legitimate. Like I can say confidently, like we are the best at like what we do. And what other industry can I come in at, 23
Right.
in real estate?
In
Real
other words,
estate's like the oldest thing.
in
there
other
is.
words, it's not very complicated. You don't need to be very
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah,
It's
but
not-
also it's like I feel like a lot of people in real estate represent a fund that has tens of millions of dollars.
yeah,
But like it's really, really hard. And now obviously this is why TechVest obviously major creds, because winning at this game at scale
yeah,
is
dude.
difficult.
It's-
You guys have taken the bottom up approach, whereas like people are just like, oh, institutions are going to come in and spend $500 million.
Right.
Institutions, that is hard as hell. If
Dude.
you're some 50, 60, 70-year-old who's made hundreds of millions of
Yeah.
dollars and you can raise from pensions and that, the amount of grind you will have to go in to create the operations to build
Yeah.
a multi-$100 million short-term rental portfolio
Yeah.
that actually does well and gives your customers or your investors an 8% preferred rate of return is practically impossible.
Yeah.
Like-
you know what? Sif and Sabrina did it though, man. And
Yeah,
they're
and
doing
they
it
started
right
the
now.
bottom up, you know, and that's like,
it's amazing, right? Like to see what they've been able to do. I honestly, I say this all the time. If I made $10 million tomorrow, I would still continue to work at TechVester because I love it so much. I love the team. I love being a part of one of the biggest things in the short-term rental market. It is my favorite. And so there's no way I'm ever leaving it. And I just think it's the coolest thing to be a part of. So yeah, scaling is outrageously hard. Whenever somebody says they're going to open up a fund to compete in the short-term rental space and essentially be our competitor, we say go for it. Because
Yeah.
it's like, it is very difficult. Go for it. Just, figure it out for yourself. Like it's pretty tough. You got to find some really great people. But anyways, it's a great environment to be around. I love this. I love what I do. I know you love what you do too.
I would say it's like, you say like my stuff's, impressive. And I probably have, like, there are probably people who obviously have like more bigger, nicer houses and whatnot.
Right. But
And
that's not what matters.
yeah, or maybe they do arbitrage and they have hundreds of doors making 10%, 15% gross margins.
Sure. Yeah.
But that being said, like, I'm confident that it was like based off what I started out, I feel like I pretty much did about what I could do, and y'all have done, and you guys done it times 5, or times more, probably more than that at this point.
Time 5
Yeah.
tech as of now, but then,
Yeah.
no, it's times 10, times 12.
Yeah,
If you
whatever.
count
Times
your
a lot
individual
more. So
properties.
I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, 12 of me doing. Like, not that you guys have 100 employees or something. Like, you
No.
guys are relatively lean team.
Yeah.
So-
That's a lot of Sabrina. She really figured out how to scale the team properly. She's great with operations, like amazing with operations. So
Yeah,
part of
what-
it, Steve's also great at bringing together an amazing team too. So credit to both those.
What is like some tricks that Sabrina has done?
She's just
to
a brain.
enable-
She just is really smart when it comes to operations. She just understands how to make things flow really well, get the right procedures in place, and make sure that everything operates properly. And she manages her team extremely well. So Sabrina's the one. As soon as we get the property, her team oversees and brings it to life, right? So like
yeah,
how beautiful those properties are and how well
setup.
they're done and everything. That's all Sabrina. She absolutely crushes it. So a lot of people don't know that, but they should because it's so good.
and managing like properties at scale. So obviously setting them up at scale is difficult. Contractors, furniture, because like it's one thing to like flip a house. It's another thing. You guys often flip houses, and I do this. I flip houses and then I'll turn them into
Ish.
a short. Yeah,
It's rare that we're gonna flip a house. It's
you renovate it to an
Correct.
extent. You guys,
Yes.
I know you guys like painting. Gray
Yeah.
houses black now.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll always paint
I'm
the
always every
outside.
new listing that comes up.
You're studying it.
I look at. Yeah, I definitely look. I mean, yeah, that's what you should do. You should see the pros. They are the pros, and I would think or hope they look at mine too, and think I am a data point that they can use. So
Yeah, I mean that's how I found your properties. What you were a data point, and I was looking at it, I was like, damn,
you
look
saw
at
my
this,
picture.
right?
You saw my little
Yeah,
symbol
and I
face.
saw Jeremy. I was like, hey, wait, I've talked to that guy once. Then I reached back out to you. I was like, this property's awesome. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
man. Anyways, this is awesome. This is fun.
yeah. This has been fun.
We'll
So
probably go on for another
yeah, I
hour and a
know.
half with all these different things we really
but
want.
we got to get lunch here.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Thank you guys. So I know I've asked you this before, but what is your pro tip for those listening?
Oh man, such a loaded question. Every single market has an inefficiency within that market, which means that there's going to be something that is where the price to rent ratio is going to be the absolute best. So there's going to be some reason why that home is going to be priced lower than others, and it's going to have some competitive advantages, maybe a larger yard or a larger interior or something like that allows you to be more competitive against anyone else, right? So whatever market you're going into, try to find the inefficiency within that market to find the most optimal thing. And a good way to be able to do this is to underwrite as many properties as you possibly can until you find the one that stands out like crazy, and then that's the one you go for.
I think I told you that the latest house I purchased had a power station and cell phone tower that was right behind
There you
the
go.
back
Yeah,
fence.
I remember that.
And you were like, inefficiency in the market.
Yeah,
Like that is like a
So in other
perfect
words,
example.
the power tower, whatever it was,
Scares
yeah,
the Karen. She doesn't want her
like the
kids
regular
to
home
get-
buyer doesn't want that in their backyard.
They don't
and
want
so
their
then
kids
the value
to-
of the home is lower. And so then because it's lower, you get a deal, but the guest who's only there for 3 days could care less, right?
Yeah.
They're just going there for the home in the backyard and all that stuff. Yeah.
And I generally go for houses that have been on the market for
Yep.
like a long time. Like I hate bidding wars. Like I hate feeling rushed. Like I'm
Smart.
kind of anxiety right now because this house I've been looking at went offline and now it just went back online. So I'm like, do I have to like rush and get it? You know,
right.
and I hate that feeling.
Fair enough.
Also, like it's like, all right, if a family wants this house, you know, like
Yeah.
they can have it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not. But if the house has been on the market for 2 months, you know, and
Yeah, it's a
nobody
lot
wants
easier
it,
with those ones, right? You can get better
Yeah.
deals and stuff like that too.
exactly. You don't have to feel pressured. You can
Right.
ask, go lower and ask them. But that was a prime example. It's like inefficiency in the market. This house, it's on a main road.
Yeah.
You know, being on a main road, a lot of families don't
Yeah.
want to be on a main road.
Man, I had one house that was across from a Section 8 spot in Chicago, and the rent was $1,000 cheaper because of that, and it did amazing, right? And then another one that was literally the train track was directly beside the house. So when you're inside the house, you look out the window, the train goes right by. And it was, if I didn't mention anything to the guests about it, they would be really mad about it, which I figured out within the first like 2 weeks. And then I told everybody like, hey, it's right beside a train. And they're like, okay, sounds good. And everybody was fine with it. But the rent again there was like, I think like $1,500 cheaper than it should have been. Right. So it just, it those little things, and it didn't decrease the revenue in any way. Both of those are my 2 best homes, right?
Yeah.
Revenue wise. And they were my cheapest homes. Right. So it's like,
Because
yeah, because
rent was lower.
the things that made them less desirable to somebody who was going to be living there for an entire year, right? People who are in and out for 3 days, doesn't matter. So yeah, man, inefficiency within the market. What's your one tip to anybody?
Yeah, I just say enjoy the process. I mean, I show like even my revenue numbers from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, and now coming up in year 4, and like, you know, first couple months it was like, you know, a couple $1,000s, and I was so excited, so happy. Like every day I was waking up motivated because I wanted more. I found something I was passionate about and I wanted to keep it going and keep growing.
Yeah.
So this is a fun game.
It's a fun game, man, for sure. That's actually exactly how I feel. I love working. I love what I do. Right. And I just can't wait to get my own Airbnbs again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm excited. So next time John put some pressure on you, you can't be
Yeah,
on this podcast
right.
again until you
Sounds
have your
good.
own property.
Sounds good, man. Once I get them, we'll back on. We'll back on
Awesome.
in a few months, guys.
Beautiful. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for joining. John, for those who don't already, you know, follow you, how can they find you?
At the Airbnb data guy. You can find that. That's all the channels is where you're going to find me there. Anyone who, you know, wants to reach out to me or whatever it may be, please watch my free stuff on YouTube first. You're going to learn all the basics, everything that I know, and then we can have an educated conversation when you reach out.
Awesome. And then guys, just to be frank, in terms of Airbnb education and content, like, and actually learning how to pick good properties to make investments, like there's no better place. I don't have to pay someone's course. John gives out the real information for free. So check him out. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode. Please give us a follow, like, share, and as always, stay tuned till next time.